This episode of Like Minded Podcast is sponsored by Lakeland Hire. Visit lakelandhire.co.uk to get 15% off your holiday booking in the Lake District. If you entered the competition in our last episode, visit our Facebook page and take a look at our pinned post to find out if you've won a 2-night stay in a luxury holiday home in the Lake District.
Hello and welcome to Like Minded Podcast. I'm Caitlin Bradley, your host, and this is Bob Towers.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our second podcast. Caitlin, what have you been doing recently?
What, between now and 10 minutes ago?
Well, I just had this vision of you that, since lockdown, you've just been at home watching rom-coms and drinking on your own. Is that right?
No, it's not. It's really not.
Is it not? Okay.
No, Bob. Oh my God, he's painted this such a lovely picture of me, I tell you. So anyway, we're joined today by Sarah and Nancy from Fallen Doors Theatre. And yeah, so we're just going to have a chat with both of you today.
Hi.
Welcome,
Hello.
welcome.
Hello.
Sarah, let's start with you. Tell us a bit, how would you describe yourself to a stranger in the street about what you do?
Oh God. So I am a theatre director, slash sort of like theatre maker, I guess. I freelance direct. Like I love sort of finding new plays, finding new people to work with, working with local artists. I don't know how I do it.
How long you've been doing that for, and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I started, went to uni 10 years ago. 11 years ago. God, showing my age. So I went to uni 11 years ago in Liverpool, John Moores, and for my dissertation, I decided to write like a short play and put it on rather than having to do a full dissertation. Obviously, like best situation. And yeah, just ever since then, I just realised I really, really like actually making theatre. Was terrified of being on stage, like cannot act to save my life at all. Was awful at it.
We know how that feels. Yeah.
You can speak for yourself, Bob.
Yeah, I was absolutely awful at it. So literally since uni, just decided to keep putting on as much as I could, finding really good plays, writers to produce work with. We'd just sort of like hire a venue out for a couple of nights, put on a play, see how it went. And that's kind of like how I got into it. Yeah. And ever since then, I've just been doing as much as I can when I can around obviously working full time.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, that's kind of me.
And Nancy, so what happened? What happened? When did you go to university?
Roughly about the same time as you. I went, gosh, dead old. I started 2008.
Yeah.
And I've always done drama and sort of theatre studies, like right up to A levels. And then when it came to crunch time, I kind of bottled it and was like, no, let me try and go down a sensible route, whatever sensible
Nobody
means,
wants
you know
that.
what I mean? But like, you've got to do what you're passionate about, and I've always loved like theatre, and I've loved the whole creative process of finding new plays, devising like every sort of aspect. And then sort of following that, doing, drama society and then a couple of Amjam groups. I found producing to be kind of my main lane because it was a good balance.
Did you start on the stage though, Nancy, and go backstage?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
We
that was
both
like,
did weirdly actually.
yeah,
Right,
like I buzz off it. Like I still do love acting.
Yeah,
but
she
like,
always says, she's
dear.
always like, do you know what? I actually might just maybe want to be in the next one.
I know.
I'm like,
and I say that, and then I bottle it.
This is my theory though, Caitlin,
Go
that
on.
producers and directors are failed actors.
do you know what? I am a
great.
failed actor though, so that's quite true for me.
But Nancy, you were telling me this thing about because Sarah, you grew up in Preston and came to Liverpool for uni and then stayed.
Yeah.
But Nancy, you grew up in Liverpool, but went to Reading. What on earth were you thinking of?
It was. I don't know. I feel like sometimes things happen for a reason,
100%.
and it was just one of those. My friend, in A levels in year 13, we were all looking at different prospectuses, and one of his courses was really niche, and it was done in Reading. And he was like, "Oh, how about you apply here? And then that way, at least if we're both down south, you've got a mate."
Yeah.
And then I got in and he didn't.
That's amazing.
Awkward. But I know. But then I went down to visit the campus, and sometimes you get those moments where something just feels right.
Yeah,
where you're like,
100%.
this is the place.
But were you still trying to convince your parents that you were doing a sensible kind of vocation?
Yeah, I went down the business route because I was like, okay, like, I had this stupid daydream. I was like, oh, I could be like a female Richard Branson, but no one wants to be him. But at the time, I was like, oh, like imagine like female boss kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But then I think when whatever it is that's on your heart or that you really want to do, it finds a way of coming out anyway. And then I found the drama society in uni. Everyone was amazing there. Had a great time being involved with that. Went down the, working in an office route, but always found I just need to scratch that creative itch.
You do, definitely. I love that. So, what advice would you give to somebody that, wait, let me start this question again. What do you wish you'd known when you first started out?
How rubbish the directing would be.
Yeah, do you know? No, I think the main thing is a lot of people see that you have to go a certain way, that you have to, for just directing wise, you have to assist big directors, you have to get a load of work experience doing that. But for me, the main thing I've learned, and all my sort of main experience and everything I've learned, is from producing your own work, whether that's upstairs in a pub, whether that's literally in your living room, filming something. Produce your own work, like that's the main thing. And I think I kind of did follow that, but a lot of people just come straight out of uni and think, right, I have to get in the big building, I have to get a really big assistant job to get anywhere. But then by the time they've done all that for years, they then are ready to direct on their own, but they've never directed anything, they've never produced anything, they've never sort of done the groundwork. So I think that's my sort of main advice to directors, I'd say.
And what about you, Nancy?
I'd say sort of similar, as in that there's not one single route to get to where you want to be, and I don't feel like being of a certain age kind of disqualifies you from then maybe doing a change and going down a certain course, because I didn't really properly pursue, working in theatre until I was about 24. And that's still young when you think about it in retrospect, but you think, I'm about 2-3 years out of uni. My opportunity was those kind of uni years where you get your degree, but it's not all the be all end all. No. That's not the only route going through uni to get to the creative industries, because
you don't have to do a master's, you don't have to do like, people think you have to do certain things, but you really don't. And I think another main thing is that, and it's only been really recently that I think we talk about it a lot, is this sort of idea of making it. Everyone just is waiting for that one job where they've made it, where that's not the case. Like, you can do a massive job and have nothing for another year, or have nothing for 2 years. Like, I think people are too set on, when you've done this, you've made it, that's it. It doesn't happen.
It's like,
in the
what does
industry.
Success mean to you?
It's like you meet actors who do massive jobs, massive films, massive productions, and then they may not get another job for 6 months, a year, who knows.
I know.
And I think if you just get out of that mindset that you're aiming for something, that you just sort of go along with it, and you aim for your next step, aim for your next job, but don't sort of wait to make it, because even when you've made it, you're still probably going to be grafting, doing another job on the side. And
I know.
Like,
so what made you set up Falling Doors Theatre?
So I set it up in 2014, I think it was, and it literally came about. We had a show on called The Morning After, written by Dave Cox, at the Lantern Theatre, and the whole play revolved around this huge wooden door in the middle of the stage. So people coming in and out of the door, and right at the end, so the pivotal moment where everything was revealed and was a massive twist, the door basically came off its hinges. So it was like a kind of, it was like built up and it was attached to like the ceiling, but it came off the hinges, smashed onto the stage, just missed a girl that was like lying on the bed playing a dead body.
Oh my!
Smashed someone's laptop. I think it was our stage
Really?
manager's laptop, or someone's laptop. And everyone just was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing. I literally shriveled up into like a ball and was like, this is the worst thing. Like, I'm never doing theatre again. I'm literally, this is over. And then afterwards I just went, like, because it carried on. So they just carried on. The actors were like, right, just going to brave through it. And it was amazing. Like, it didn't hinder it at all. And I thought that should have destroyed it. I would have just run out the theatre crying. But it carried on. And afterwards we were all talking. I was like, if you can do a show that a massive piece of set can happen, and it can still carry on, and it can still be a really good show and the audience love it, then you know you've made a good piece of work. So I think one of the cast members, my friend Kyle, was like, why don't you should call, because we were thinking about my theatre company name, and he was like, what about Fallen Doors Theatre? And I was like,
oh wow,
do you know what? Yeah, I thought, that's it.
But it could have been Broken Table Theatre. You just wouldn't have the
it could have been
but
Smash
Fallen
Laptop
Doors.
Theatre. It could have been,
Yeah.
but it was just this image. Honestly, it happened in slow motion. The door just crashing down. And I think I've got a lot of friends who were in the audience who even to this day sort of remember it. I think Kath was in the audience, wasn't she?
Wow.
And yeah, I've never felt horror like it. Genuinely, never felt horror like it. But you've got to turn things like that happen that can be the worst things into the best things, and here we are now, sort of like making positives of it. So yeah.
Oh, I love you've got a story behind.
I know, literally,
so lovely.
honestly, if every time I think about it, I get this like horror in my stomach.
You still
I'm just
remember
like,
it.
no, like this is a positive moment now. So, and it's made me realise like always check every piece of set a million times.
That's not going to happen again.
Yeah, we literally anything. I think even now I'm like, if we've got something on stage, I'm like, just keep checking it, just keep checking it. Like I always just think the worst. I'm like that. Like what in Sandpit? What was it that was really worried about?
The windows.
The windows, I was like, they're going to come
Fish
down.
wire.
Like the fish wire, they are going to fall. But our designer was amazing. Like they wouldn't have fallen.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have fallen even.
Yeah.
Fall isn't a word.
Okay.
And yeah, I think just double check everything.
When you put on a play, what are you looking to do with that play? Are you looking to kind of touch people emotionally, change their mind, show them a piece of life? Or what are you doing when you put on a play?
We're both really similar in what we want. So we've both always said, like, I think the Nether did this. So the Nether's about, obviously, virtual reality is kind of Black Mirror. It's about a world where you can be anyone, and it goes a little bit dark. Obviously, you don't go into too much detail on this. I don't know what the age rated is.
It's fine.
Yeah, but anyway, and afterwards, the whole audience, like, we're talking about it in the bar. It was literally, but even to this day, everyone's like, "Oh my god!" So I think this about that. Like I believe in that side, or I thought, like, do you know what? Like,
it's about challenging people's ideas and what they think about things, but then just presenting it in sort of different stylized ways, and then making people reflect on their own selves and their own lives.
It is, Nancy, and I think if we wanted to go out and tell people something, we'd come across as crazy people, like ranting. But when you put it in a production, it's a subtle way of getting people to engage with issues and things in a way that's safe and is more palatable.
Amazing. And like controversial, can't even speak, get my teeth back in, controversial topics. Like I love doing something that people go, oh, that's a bit tongue-in-cheek. Like, are you sure you can do a play like that? And I'm like, yeah, I want to do it, like, definitely. And I think after the Nether, there was it a couple of the nights, everyone, the whole audience, when it finished, just stayed in the auditorium, in the theatre, just talking about it, just arguing with people about it, like obviously with friends, and even like now people in the street are like, oh my god, like people that we know, obviously, the Nether, oh my god. So I really think that was a good thing. Like but I don't agree with this. Like, I agreed with the detective, I agreed with the person.
Even the cast was so split on it. There was no general consensus.
Really?
Which was we had like, I think the first whole 2 weeks of rehearsals, we didn't do anything on its feet. We literally, because of the subject matter, we just sat around a table and discussed everything, every single page. We just completely tore it apart. And so the there was 4 cast members, and 2 of the cast, so 2 were for it and 2 were against it.
Wow.
And so it was mainly Kath and Lee that were kind of, so they played the characters that were for and against it in the play. And then in the real sort of world, in rehearsals, they were just so for their characters, so they were against each other. So it was so weird how it happened, and that just made the play,
the
didn't
performance
it?
as well.
100%, because they truly believe
I
what
think,
they were saying.
you know, there are shows that are put on to entertain people, and people come along, and it's you know, it's an event, it's something to watch, and it's pleasant, and they go away and they've enjoyed themselves, they've had a good night out. Then there are other plays that in some way move people,
Yeah.
engage with people, get them to kind of explore the way that they think about things. And I get that from like Fallen Doors Theatre. Do you deliberately set out to do that?
Yeah, like I think we don't want to just shove something down people's neck. We don't want to be like, come to the theatre and not have a great time. We don't want people to leave feeling miserable, feeling upset. I think it's just about that balance. And if you get that perfect balance of being able to entertain while also instill something in people, I think that's what theatre should be.
Amazing.
Like with Sandpit, I think it was entertaining, I hope.
No, it was.
Yes.
It was amazing. Did you watch it, Bob?
I didn't, because I was scared, because it was on at the time of the virus was just going out.
But I did go
you
see
just
it.
got away with it in terms of
Just about,
putting that on.
Literally.
But yeah, it was incredible.
But we hoped that we wanted it to be a comedy, we wanted it to be entertaining, but we also wanted, which I hope we got, because we did a lot of feedback with the audience as well, like written feedback. And people got it, or people made their own interpretations, and that's what we wanted. We didn't want people to just go, oh, it's brilliant, yeah, great, and then move on to the next thing, or go home and not think about it again. We want people to every now and again be like, oh, actually, do you know what, that play we saw, and just have a sort of,
I know, it was really
idea of
True
it.
Man vibes, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, that's exactly what we sort of, kind of like The Good Place. Have you seen
I love The Good Place.
Started watching it, I was like, this
It's
is
excellent.
Sandpit, oh my god, this is the same
I've
thing.
not seen
Really?
it yet.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
just like watching
really
it
good.
yesterday and was like, that is so similar. What's going on?
Amazing. So we've skipped a bit, and as in, like, how did you two become together?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
She slid in my DMs.
I
True
did
story.
slide in her DMs.
She literally did.
Like,
Facebook
actually.
Messenger. Hi.
So do you want to explain that? Like, how did you two become?
Yeah,
Oh,
so Sarah messaged me. It felt kind of out of the blue. I just wrapped up my last show with Young Producers.
Yes.
So I was kind of like, oh, what's my next project going to be now? I'm left on my own 2 feet. And just perfect time. And she messaged me and she said, I need a producer to help me with an upcoming play. She was down in London at the moment doing a different production, and it was The Nether that she was gearing up to do. And I was just kind of glad of the opportunity. Like, she came off like really kind of professional. I was like, oh, I'm just a new
She's
yep
mad,
person.
because I am not
Like,
professional at
yeah,
all.
no, I felt that way. Like, she arranged a call as well. She went,
Oh,
okay, let's have
no.
a phone call at
And
like
she
this
was-
time. And I got up to my room like 5 minutes before preparing. Like, okay, Sarah's gonna call. I need to be all professional.
Little did
like-
you know what you were getting yourself into, literally.
Yeah. And yeah, she just explained the project and like a couple of people that she had on board already, and I loved the sound of the play, and like she came across like really switched on, because I wanted to make something of actually getting to put on actual productions and doing it sort of from scratch, like sourcing your own finances, you know, building the team, liaising with theatres properly, instead of, you know, you kind of have the great thing about the scheme is that, you know, you have that safety net, and you've got the extra guidance, and then now that was kind of, it was a great next step to start working.
Stepping stone.
We had a really good team on board, and we sort of, I think for that one was the first time, so even from doing plays in the past, like, it's always been a really small team, a lot of actors but small creative team. We've sort of multi-rolled everything, but for The Nether I was like, I want it to be a collaboration of local creatives. I want to get everyone, so I want music on board. I want we had like Chris doing set and AV, like he did the projection, and it just, everyone just sort of really sort of kind of accentuated everyone's skills, I think, for that. And it was just a really good, like, we didn't have funding, we had nothing, we had literally, I think we spent about 200 quid, didn't we, on the set? That was it.
On the set,
We literally had nothing to do it on. It was a massive like collaboration, hopefully all to be able to invite people along to and have things for our portfolio, and it just really kind of set the grounds for what type of working kind of company we want.
And that's one of the things that we want to do with this podcast, is get people to focus on and think about some of the other roles that are in theatre, because people think of theatre as actors and whatever. What do you get out of kind of producing or directing? Why did you go into that particular part? And tell us a bit about what it's like directing and producing something.
So I think I got into it because I've always been quite
bossy.
Bossy, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can be quite bossy and quite like set in my ways in a certain way. I love like really challenging myself. Like I couldn't like if like sometimes I'll read a play and be like, this would be good. It wouldn't really be a challenge. It would be quite nice to put on. I think nah, like let's do something with like 15 cast members and let's give ourselves 2 weeks to do it. Or, so I think that's why, and I think even just from doing it in the beginning, just that feeling of working with a company, with having the audience watching what you've done, and that feeling at the end when everyone's even left the theatre and you're on your own and you're just thinking about the show and how you could improve it, that's not the end product. I think that's why I keep on doing it, and I think the difference it can make to people, I think people see theatre and it can really touch them in a way that helps them in their lives, and I think if theatre can do that, then why would you want to do anything else, you know?
At the start, you've got a vision for what this is going to look like. And then when it's finished, do you say, that's exactly how I envisage it? Or it's not what I envisage it, but it's better, but it's different, or whatever? How does that work between the kind of vision at the start and then...
I think...
Sorry, that's for both of you.
Yeah, no, I think because it's weird. Like we both, I think when we started doing Sandpit, for example, before we, so we had, we worked with a designer called Caitlin, and
it's not me, by the way.
No, no,
I'm not a designer.
So we've worked with the last 2 productions. We've had a set designer. Before that, we haven't worked with anyone. So for me, anyway, before Nancy joined. There was no sort of design element. There's nothing there that was visual of how this was going to look. It was all just kind of done through rehearsals. Whereas for the Nether and Sandpit, we literally had sort of these concept designs, and it really helped us visualise where it was going. And I think it grounded us a little bit more, and kind of we could build on that rather than just sort of seeing where it went, and then when it came to it in the theatre, going, oh my God, we need more of this, we need more of that to decorate, and it kind of changed the way we worked a little bit. But I don't know, what do you?
I tend not to get a kind of fixed view, because sometimes it can be like a hindrance, I think. Like if you have, this is my idea, this is how I see it, just based on past experience, it's always going to morph and evolve and change little by little, and you've got to
isn't
make
necessarily
allowances.
a bad thing.
No, not at all. Sometimes there's an improvement, sometimes it's, you know, it's not always the best thing, but you do always get something out of it to help grow and develop. And
for Sandpit, we had no idea. We literally, so we booked Hope Street, and we were like, let's just meet, a few of us meet, a few actors, like us, we had Ben to do music, and we just said, let's just we didn't have a title, we had nothing, we had no idea what it was going to be.
Idea.
And somehow this play evolved.
That's amazing.
But we had a month, I think, was it 6 weeks we'd booked it to do it, and we literally were like, Sam at Hope Street was like, so what's the title? And I was like, we don't have one.
We came
yet.
up with a title, but then we found the title before the story.
Wow.
And he was like, so what's it called? I was like, it's called There Is a Dead Body in My Baby's Sandpit. And he was like, okay then. Right. And just wrote it in his calendar.
That will have them banging the door down, see that.
I know. He's like, what's it about? I was like, I have no idea. And we don't know yet. So,
but I love that. Do you think you'd do another
definitely
project like that?
Yeah, it's
100%.
so stressful. Like,
but will you do it all again?
Do it all again.
But
I think
how
you just
quickly
learn more.
after you've kind of finished a big project like that, are you onto a new one? Does it like take, I need to rest for a couple of weeks and forget about it, like childbirth, or have you got the idea? But have you got the idea for the next one while you're still kind of working on the current one? How does that work?
They do tend to overlap, because I think it depends on, I guess, how much time you want to dedicate. Like sometimes some people can only commit to one at a time, but to try and have a continuous stream of things happening, by the time you're in the rehearsal room with one piece, you're already looking at the funding and all the ideas for the next one after that.
And who you meet as well, who you work with. You'll be working with someone, they'll be like, oh, we should do this actually next time.
Yes.
Like, yeah, let's do that. So it kind of just evolves quite
so
naturally.
that inspires you with people you meet, that we
definitely
could work together and do something else.
Yeah, and we came up with a few ideas in Sandpit. Like there was a few things that would have really worked for something else, just didn't work for Sandpit. We had to kind of, we were quite, had to kind of, not streamline, it's not the right word, but kind of like refocus, because it was so many people involved. There was people writing, there was music, there was design. We kind of had to like navigate the whole thing to create an end product that wasn't too packed with so many different ideas.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do that more for next time. We need to sort of really streamline it and really sort of get to the bones of what the play is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Can we delve into the sticky subject of the pandemic and what's happening now? How do you think the current pandemic will affect performing arts kind of in the medium term and in the longer term?
I think medium term is definitely forcing everyone to innovate how to stage like productions and just any kind of creative endeavor. Like it's I don't want to say it's good, but it's forced people to think a bit more creatively.
Yes.
And to step outside of their comfort zones, and it's allowed for kind of new kind of creations to come about. So I mean, in the short term, I can't see like an auditorium full of 50 plus people or anything.
Anytime
but
soon.
Exploring outdoor performances, obviously, but now we're coming into winter. That's going to play kind of another role into how it's shaped. But I think it's not stopped people. I don't think it's just now the engine's working a lot harder to get work out.
Yeah.
It's kind of bringing everything outside of buildings and all these different ways. Like I think if you'd thought of the pandemic a few years ago, you'd think it would all just be sort of outdoor theatre, but there's podcasts, there's live streams of monologues, like there's so much happening that I don't think would have happened if it wasn't for this pandemic. There's so many people working away at things and figuring out new ways, like Nancy said, to do things. So obviously it's awful, everything that's going on, but I think also it will help new things to grow and sort of flourish a little bit as
Definitely.
well.
And Zoom, nobody heard of Zoom. Well, personally I hadn't
Zoom
before, and now I live
dread.
on Zoom every week.
Yeah, I'm sick of staring at my own face. Like,
And everyone does the
literally.
Zoom wave, don't they, when they go,
yeah,
oh, bye,
100%.
bye.
Yeah. Oh, do you know
But
what?
yeah.
It is good. Like Zoom's great, and it's good for what it is.
But it won't get that excitement of
No.
opening night
No,
and
of
live
course,
theatre,
of course.
and that's the kind of missing ingredient, isn't
Like
it?
the recorded shows are amazing. Like I've caught quite a few over the pandemic. Not as many as I would have, because I don't know if anyone else felt the same, but I just really struggled to concentrate.
Yes,
So
no,
I
I
was watching
agree.
a production that I knew if I was in the theatre I'd absolutely love, but then watching it on your TV at home, I just couldn't concentrate, and I was like, am I a fraud? Like, do I not like theatre? But so many people I've met have been like, I am 100% the same, like, and I thought it was just me.
No.
But there's just, like, it's great watching it on TV, and it's good if you're doing research or anything, but I think it's made me realise that theatre, for me, is about being there, being present in the moment, and sort of bouncing off people and having that shared experience with people in that same room as you.
No, I agree, because
So-
it's like, I've done a bit of filming, I've done theatre before, but it's like, you just can't beat it. Once you've said that line, it's gone.
Exactly.
Whereas like for podcasts we can edit.
Yeah.
And for filming you can edit and you can go, no, we'll retake that. But once you're there and you're live, there's no better feeling, honestly.
Exactly.
And nobody understands who doesn't do that.
I think also it's kind of feedback from the audience as well,
Yeah, you can
because
bounce off each
you'll
other.
know as well that each kind of performance is different, and sometimes the audience respond and it's palpable how they're responding, and other times the audience are completely quiet, so you don't know how they're receiving it. So it's all like those elements as well.
And I don't think, like, I think it doesn't mean there's not a place for everything that's going on at the moment during the pandemic, like all the sort of live recordings and things like that. There is a place for all that, but I think without the live element as well intertwined with them all, it kind of I don't think it would work in the long run. I think we need live theatre. I think we need that to kind of inject us with energy and
Definitely.
life.
So if money wasn't an issue and the pandemic wasn't going on right now, let's just pretend, what play or what show would you both want, like, direct or produce individually? You don't have to do it together. Is there any show that you would play that you would want to do?
I'm like, we're similar in some ways, but then we have like differences as well. I'm a little musical theatre nerd as well.
Are you?
I absolutely like love the whole escapism side. Like obviously we like to produce work which has a message, but then also I do want to be entertained. I do want to forget about all the nonsense that's going on.
Yeah, the
and just
escapism
get,
aspect.
buried in. So that's kind of, I'm working on something. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'm writing something, and that's kind of like my little passion project. It's an adaptation of an old like book that I want to try.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's your favourite musical?
I'd probably say it's not really exciting. I'd say The Sound of Music. It's just
Okay.
because that's what I grew up on. That's what first hooked me.
Oh,
I used to watch it on repeat when I was from like the age of 3.
I did too, all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
my
absolutely loved
grandma's.
it. And then I'd say Book of Mormon, just it slays me.
Right.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Amazing. And what about you, Sarah? If money was no issue, what show would you produce? Direct, sorry.
So I really want to put Martin McDonagh on. I really want to put Beauty Queen of Lanarn. Like I've wanted to do that for years and years. But I don't think I could do that without money, I think. God, that's a really good question. I think most things I'd just do it even without money.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
I'll tell you what my fear is, that when we get back to live theatre, there's loads of shows about the pandemic and people
that
wearing a
cannot
mask
happen.
and social
Yeah.
distancing and stuff, and I think, we just say, no, we've had enough, we're
we've
not
had
going to
enough.
watch a show about
Yeah.
but it has to happen at some
Yeah,
point.
because it's history, isn't it?
Yeah, so do you want to
Yeah.
do Pandemic the musical?
not at all. I would rather have some sort of injection that makes me forget about it completely. No.
Yeah, Nancy's up for it though.
I don't know. Yeah.
Would you?
I think we can do a little spin-off of Sandpits somehow.
See, I love I love like apocalyptic and like post-apocalyptic plays and like films and things like that. So yeah, I've always said I want to do. So have you seen the film Pride?
No.
No. So it's, I can't remember when it was made actually. But it was when the LGBTQI community teamed up with like the miners in Wales and sort of they helped each other out.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Yeah, but there was like a group of women called the Women Against the Mine Closures.
Pit closures.
The pit closures, yeah. So I'd love to do like a play about them and sort of like a massive, with music, definitely with music.
Yeah.
We've worked with some really good composers recently, so we might as well like make the most of that.
Definitely.
And make something with loads of music, like massive, big visual sort of like production, immersive. Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Amazing.
Yeah, theatre version of Pride.
Okay.
Fantastic. So where do you see Fallen Doors Theatre in, I don't know, 5 years' time? Do you still...
I'd hope we'd have some money.
Yeah.
Because we are broke. I hope we'd have a bit of money to be able to do projects. Hopefully we'll be in a position where we have a little office. We can regularly... I know, an office, what? I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to keep comfortably putting on productions and working with new people. I guess what we're doing now, but magnified and more regularly, and not having to work 40-hour plus weeks as well as doing it, because it just absolutely burns you out. Like, that's the good thing about lockdown, has been just resting, like actually resting your brain.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
so.
the dream, literally, just to have your own rehearsal space.
Have our own,
that's
even
the
if it's
dream.
just an empty, decrepit room, I would want that, just so we have somewhere we can mark the floor up, leave props and furniture, and
tell
not
me
have
about
the
it.
carpet around in my office car.
Honestly.
Literally, yeah, that would be the dream. I think we're quite not materialistic, are we? We're not like, we've got big dreams and big ideas, but yeah.
Okay, Caitlin's asked about the longer term plan, but what's the shorter term plan that you can tell us about?
Because Sarah's done work with the Liverpool Irish Festival before you did Kitty, and there was already talks pre-pandemic to try and help stage a production with a play by some new writers, and then obviously now that's not really happening. We can't have live performances.
Yeah, it was meant to be in end of October, which obviously isn't going to be able to do inside.
No, but it's a really good play. Like, it's really interesting subject matter.
What's the theme of this? Can you say?
It's a historic piece.
Black Bloody Sunday, yeah.
Oh,
so
really?
It's sort of set. So it's about Liverpool, Dublin, Bloody Sunday, obviously 1916. It's got music in it, Irish music. Quite a big cast. Last time it was first staged.
Based on a true story.
Yeah, based on a true story. To do with the writers.
Is this
about their
deliverable
family.
indoors?
It's
with
not,
this huge cast?
No, it's not in. No, not this side of the year. We'd hope. we'd hope that we can build it up to get to a place, because it's hoping to then tour Ireland and go to a few venues over in Ireland, and especially where the writer's family are from, which is about the play. But we're going to have to do, to be honest, it's actually, it's quite all right. We're going to do like a little podcast about it, like a little interview with the writers, a bit about the making of and what the plans are for it next year, hopefully to come back for the Irish Festival in 2021.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah, so that's kind of ticking away. Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, and let's do the plug then. If people want to find out more information about Fallen Doors Theatre Company or yourselves, how do they find that out?
So we've got Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is... Do I need to read the handles, or we'll put it on?
No, but if it's Fallen Doors, you're going to get there.
Fallen Doors Theatre. We're quite active when we've got a show on social media, but not the best because it's just us two, literally, whilst working. But yeah, definitely Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're going to have a website built eventually. We've got like a bit of a basic one at the moment, but we're going to sort of get that up on the ground, hopefully next year sometime. And you can contact us, and our emails are there and everything. So
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
No
and it would be nice to catch up again, and especially we'll do the coverage when the Irish.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
definitely. So thank you both so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, it's been lovely.
Brilliant.
It is.
And don't forget, everyone, if you want to contact us, get involved with the show, suggest some topics or some guests, then visit us at www.likemindedproductions.co.uk.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Caitlin.
Yes.
What's your plans for the next week? You know we always like to end with this. More drinking and box sets.
Do you know what I was going to say? I'm going to have a glass of gin tonight. Just a full glass of gin. No, I'm not watching
Okay.
Box sets. So what are you doing this week?
Oh, well, I'll just be like doing a word search and maybe a jigsaw.
Lovely.
Right. Okay, so thanks very much, everyone, and see you at the next podcast.
See you later.
you.
Bye.